about how important our native evergreens are, but I'm not always sure about my options. What might be good options for our gardens?
Okay, so this is actually quite a broad subject, and at some point I may ask people to comment in the chat or unmute and just offer some suggestions on what they might have used or good or bad in their garden. There's a lot of choices here. And why would you want evergreens, or what season do they shine? So let's see if we can go to the next slide. They offer a lot of winter interest. Whoops, I think I've lost a couple pictures here on my transfer over. So evergreens offer a variety of accent and excitement to your garden. I have a wide variety of leaf shapes and colors. They are, many of them are prolific barriers. They can have interesting bark or features about limbs that showcase in the winter. They have winter blooms. They offer a fragrance. Many of these track the viburnums that we just heard. Those are really good landscape plants. And then the small, like perennials and small flowering shrubs can offer a winter interest just by their seed heads and by their shape of their leaves, patterns, and everything. Make a dramatic winter, can make a really dramatic winter statement, and they offer nutrition and habitat for small insects. Okay, next slide. That picture is the mountain laurel that everybody really enjoys, but I have not had any success at growing up here. I'm from Georgia originally, and the mountains would be covered in mountain laurel. I have yet to see that work up here. If anybody knows where that really thrives up here, I'd love a recommendation to go see it. Okay, next slide. Sorry for that. What are some plantings that can offer this interest in the winter or in the traditional sort of off seasons that are evergreen year round? Ferns, there are definitely some evergreen ferns. They offer a nice color and texture and shape. They're generally lower to the ground, so they offer a cover in the winter when you're looking for something. Hollies, of course, are a traditional evergreen for berries. The leaf color stays solid during the winter. They attract wildlife and offer some habitat potential. Grasses are something that people don't always think about. There's a number of native ornamental grasses that really offer a chance to showcase something different in your garden. They are very sculptural in the winter. If you leave them, if you don't prune them back till February, you'll get a nice winter shape. They look beautiful in the snow, and they do offer habitat and protection for smaller animals. And then your perennial flowers, many of them will remain visible. You'll have the seed heads. If you leave that last series of flowers, they'll provide, again, they provide habitat. The seeds will serve as a food source. They provide, again, a sculptural element in your garden that is really nice. Some of them, like the rudbeckia and everything, with their large seed heads, are really make a nice statement in some of our dreary winters that we can have. Next slide, please. Now, there's a lot of resources. There's some really great resources, and I put them at the end of the presentation. And one I really liked was from the Maryland Flora. It's a pamphlet, so if you go, you can find what you like, but they've done a good job of organizing, all the information that you might need. For instance, some of the ferns, it'll let you know what is special about it, why you might want to consider planting that in the garden. One very popular one, some popular ones are the cinnamon fern, the royal fern. That's a larger one that really has a spectacular shape. That's the one in the top image there. the Christmas fern. So ferns do require a shaded, sort of a moist area, protected area, but they can really brighten up kind of a dreary spot and offer you some color or just some vibrancy during the winter. And then you get ferns come in all different sizes. You're not limited to just low. The royal fern can get up to it's from 3 to 6 feet tall. So that's a pretty significant size. You want to make sure that you locate it in a place where it won't outgrow too quickly. Another thought was the grasses and sedges. There are really some lovely local grasses. One popular grass this year I've seen in a number of garden magazines recommended is the purple love grass, also known as egrass. Okay, I'm going to try to pronounce this. Agrostis spectabilis. And every time I've tried to buy some this year at different nurseries, it's been sold out. It's been very popular. This is a picture of it here. It has a nice delicate, I would call it a delicate leaf structure and seed head, and it offers a lot of food value over the winter and just a really nice shape and picture in your winter garden. Some other ones to think about are little blue stem and even the sedges and sages. These are just sample recommendations given the large amount of plant material that's available. I do recommend just taking a look at some of the sources and what they have to offer. They can really give you some good ideas. If we could go to the next slide. Shrubs, again, there's a large variety of shrubs. We've already talked about viburnums. Those are an excellent shrub. Many of them have really nice bearing and late season flowers. There are other ones that many people are familiar with are the chokeberries. This is a picture up here. They're great for birds. The birds, all these bearing really they'll liven up your garden with the native wildlife, which is always, another benefit of gardening is getting a chance to invite nature into your space. Other ones are witch hazels. They have a nice winter bloom on the stem. Again, the hollies, the ilex glabra, some of the evergreens you want to plant will serve as a backdrop. Maybe they don't have a special flower or berry that you might be interested in, but they serve as a nice backdrop and a nice splash of green in the winter when you might not have any other color available. So that can also be a nice part of your garden structure, is a nice green center to allow your colors to showcase against when the spring starts. Mountain laurel, it's, in my opinion, a little bit, I know it's a native, but to me, I've seen it to be very particular up in this area. I just think I've seen them be more prolific and in better health further south. They get bigger. The spicebush bayberry, elderberry, again, offers great, that's a larger one. It offers a great food source. The berries, they can also be a jam, elderberry jam. You can train them up. They get larger in the wilder parts. The rhododendron, everybody's familiar with the rhododendrons. And again, they come in a variety of sizes. Some of the native ones are Atlanticus, which is the coastal azalea. And that's a mid-spring bloomer, but it has a nice shape and a fragrant flower. And again, I know I'm talking about evergreen, but many of the native azaleas are actually deciduous. So that's something to keep in mind. You might want to look for a variety of a native that will remain evergreen throughout this winter. Again, some of the viburnums we just had a chance to learn about, the maple leaf, arrowwood, the possum howl. Again, a lot of these have a high wildlife value and a really good source of berries. If we could go to the next slide. There's another good source I found was the United States Botanical Gardens. And again, it looks like I dropped off some of my, so this chart, and I was transferring some of this information over here. I thought this was a very handy chart. It showed sort of their top choices. Again, there's a lot of choices. They liked the witch alder, which is a Fothergilla, the pepperbush, the chokeberries, the American hollies, which also has a really nice berry. It does grow, it's a large, it could be a really large centerpiece or backdrop to your garden if you have enough room for that. Or if you want to plant them in the common area of your complex and let it grow up and makes a nice screen. It's not super fast, but it's definitely worth waiting for. Some recommendations that are native are more suitable towards coastal areas, not just here, but in many of these lists. So you want to make sure that you're planting for the right environment. In Northern Virginia, the wax myrtles and other similar coastal plants won't do as well up here. They just don't thrive as well, but they will survive. They just won't be in their optimum condition. Okay, we can go to the next slide. So some of my resources and sites that I found had clear recommendations and a lot of good plant information are the U.S. Botanical Gardens. They had a nice choice of both native and varietals. The Plant Virginia Natives org, and you can also get links towards where to source some of these native materials. The Smithsonian Gardens has a really nice, some really unusual recommendations. And Green Spring Gardens is a very top, and they're part of the Master Gardener program, but they have a really nice resource for all kinds of plants, but a good one for sort of a medium-sized shrub that I was able to use. And also the Maryland group that I recommended has a really nice comprehensive list that you might want to look through and see if you want to source one of those for your garden this year. And I think that's the end of mine. And if anybody has any questions or thoughts, I'd really be interested if anybody has a evergreen or any native evergreens in their garden or their yard that they found that does really well or that gives them nice winter feel to their garden that they'd like to share their experience with. That would be great.
And we do have a small crowd tonight, so if you would like to unmute yourself and respond to Pat, please feel free to do so.
Hopefully everybody in both of these presentations will be inspired to plant one or two new things to be sort of an anchor or a backbone to their garden, and will have taken away just one or two things. That's if you can learn one or two things each time you go to a session, then you'll really be learning a lot for your garden in the years to come.
I was interested in knowing more about that purple love grass that you were talking about. It stays red all winter?
Yes, it's more of it's kind of a light purple, but it stays, you can get that color. That's the seed pods, and it's a medium-sized grass, so it's not overwhelming. The native grasses are very appropriately sized for a garden. You're not going to outgrow a space like some ornamental grasses people might be used to, like a pampas grass or something like that. But what's nice is they can be delicate and really offer a nice place. The sedges too, they maintain a nice space. But the love grass was nice because it has a little bit of a unique color presentation, and it's been hard to source, so keep your eye out for it. It might have to be a next year's plant.
Yeah.
is a native
That was
euonymus.
muted. Sorry, that was a native. That is not the elatus, which is the
Yeah,
invasive.
Right.
This one is called the Americanus. It's also known as the strawberry bush, and
right.
it is a native. It's definitely it's not the issue with the one that is most commonly seen. And let me see if I can.
And that's a good reminder to all of us. We need to be aware of invasives and avoid planting them in our gardens.
Yeah, that's.
But the leaves do turn a reddish color, and the stems tend to stay evergreen looking. It has a wonderful little berry type, almost a fuchsia and a red combination. And it kind of looks like a strawberry.
Yeah, it's called the strawberry bush, and the leaves also turn red, but not as. I don't have a way to get a picture, but if you see the picture that's on the screen, it has sort of like the bunches of red berries, but then it has the red, I think those are brackets around it that look like the leaves. So it looks very much like a strawberry. And you know, it's much more delicate than the elatus. It's not, and it's not as heavy limbed as the winged euonymus, which is what the invasive is known as. So it would be safe to plant that. It doesn't get as big, or it's not an aggressive grower like that one.
We do have another question. Linda wants to know if there are any suggestions for short evergreen natives for as a foundation plant in front of a house. How big does that one get? Is that too big?
It's not too big, but it does require a more of a woodland.
So
you know,
more shade. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not really suitable for foundation planting.
Do you have any other options for Linda?
Let's see, what would be good for foundations?
She says she was thinking about inkberry.
Yes, I have inkberry. They can get leggy, you know, so they are a really good foundation plant. They can get a little sparse underneath when they get older. So you might want to plant something in front of them also, a second layer, you know, a lower layer. But the inkberries are a really good choice. They're very solid choice. Another one is, let's see, sorry, I wasn't expecting. No, azaleas can be good if you have some break from the heat. Azaleas can make a good foundation plant if they're in the right environment, because otherwise they will get too hot along the base of the house. I'm looking at this list. The viburnum is also good. The maple leaf viburnum would be good if you, since it gets about 6 feet, you can either keep it leveled off as a hedge. It has a nice berry, and it's probably good on a side of the house that doesn't have, where it won't cover any windows, and not adjacent to the driveway. It'll get a little overgrow that. Not sure exactly what space that you have, what part of the house, if it's along the driveway or the backyard. But that would be a nice choice too.
Okay, any